So like we're actually training ourselves to do the work of five people. What it used to take five people to do together, one person can do that through agentic workflows. It sounds crazy to say this, but it's true, and that's what Claude has really done for us. Jace, here we are again. How's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. I'm happy to be here on this episode specifically. We're going to talk about why we chose Claude, a while ago. And I'm excited to kind of get into the nuance of all this because it's not an easy answer of this feature or that feature or one thing. It's many things. And a year later, here we are, we're using Claude to its full potential. And we couldn't be happier. And I kind of want to just touch on some of the reasons why we made the decision when we did and why we still continue to believe that Claude is the way for us and for many businesses like ours. So yeah, let's kind of kick it off. Before we jumped on, we were talking about a few things, and one of those is the Constitution. This is one of the things that caught our attention early on. Can you talk about the Constitution itself and why that was such a big reason for you and for us when we were looking at different platforms?
Yeah, for sure. For those who aren't aware what the Claude or Anthropic Constitution is, it's basically their vision for what Claude is supposed to be. So it's them going in and outlining the kind of, I wouldn't call it personality, but how they want Claude to act and what the guidelines and rules that it should follow. And then I think the most interesting part about it is they then took those ideas and basically trained Claude on it. So they wrote what they wanted Claude to do, and then they actually went in and trained Claude. So it's form fitting to that constitution. And the big kind of points that they make within that constitution is they want Claude to be safe, they want Claude to be ethical, and they want Claude to be helpful. And at a time where every LLM was kind of neck and neck in terms of performance and what tools were available, at least when we were looking for which road to go down, Claude felt the most comfortable in the sense of we can see what they're aiming for. We know what their goal is, and going into that kind of ecosystem, that large of an ecosystem, that is an important thing, especially as a business, because you don't want to integrate something that down the line becomes unsafe or unethical. So yeah, that was really the big kind of idea of why we thought the Constitution was so important. I know we've kind of talked about this a few different times. Were there any other pieces of the Constitution that stood out to you?
No, it was really that. It was the fact that they had values and that they were like building products around the values, not the other way around, this is going to sound kind of like an obvious thing to do now, but back then, and I'm talking like 2023, 2024. What was everybody using AI for? Can you think back? Can you think back to like when GPT first rolled out? And people were just, it was kind of the wild, wild west. People were using it for anything and everything.
Yeah.
What were some of the biggest things that you saw people using GPT for? Chat.
Well, I have a unique perspective because I was in college, so
Okay.
that's the rabbit hole I could go down. Obviously, undergrad and college is a lot of classes that you don't necessarily care about. So using it, at least in the academic space, it was a lot of information retrieval, um, synthesis. So like writing, whether it's a essay or helping you with your grammar, those were kind of the areas I saw. I wasn't quite yet in the mind space of looking at it from a business perspective. Um, so those were my experiences as an early user of AI, just because that's when I was in college and even a little bit in high school, because towards the end of my high school career was when it really started to blow up. Um,
Hmm.
what about you? Were you able to see, I guess, not even from the business perspective, but just from a personal perspective, how are you using it in those early
Yeah.
stages?
For me, the way that I saw companies using, or people at companies, I should say, they were using it for creative measures, like creating images, right? Like Mid-Journey, and trying to stitch videos together through different images and things like using it for creative things, trying to design with it. Um, Really like single output tasks, right? Write this paper, write this post, do this math equation. like little things that were super useful and still are helpful. Um, but there was no clear like direction of where any of these companies was going other than creating a tool that can output something,
Yeah.
right? Like it can output a deliverable for you. That's really cool. That's something that you could use on specific tasks, right, for your business or for your personal use. And when we were looking through their constitution, Claude's constitution, we immediately saw, here's a company who has values and believes in ethics and is going to build products that stay in alignment with that. That's like very important. If you don't pay attention to that with a company, you don't really know what their next move could be, right? And so I'll give a prime example of this. When they came out with Mythos, um,
Yeah.
they were going to release it, but it was too dangerous, right? And so what they did was they said, no, we're not going to release this. That is in alignment with their constitution. Okay. So what they did with it though is they're working with the other big players in tech and they're using it for good. They're using it to find vulnerabilities in large scale software, large scale systems to use it for the better good. Okay. So that's kind of a prime example of why the Constitution is important, why their values are important, why the ethics that they stand by are important, and that's showing that in real life that they actually did that. That's on the ethics side, right?
Yeah.
From a product standpoint, and the reason why I brought up how we're using AI early on is because none of us really knew or could really wrap our heads around using AI in all capacities of a business or of a company. So much to say that you could use uh, AI as your operating system, right? So if you're a small to medium sized business or larger, and you have an operating system, when I say operating system, I just mean a dashboard with data that flows in and out that multiple people can update at the same time, right? This could be an Excel spreadsheet. A lot of people still run their companies on Excel spreadsheets, but it also could be a custom proprietary piece of software that maybe you built for your business. And um, what do? You have a piece of software and you can try to plug it into other softwares that you use. Maybe you use a third party software for your accounting, use something for your logistics, something else for this, something else for that. And all of those use APIs to connect, and you're limited in what you can send and receive from those different platforms. What's the point? My point is that none of us really saw AI as potentially replacing that, as being able to use that as like your company wide dashboard. And that was actually the vision that Anthropic had with Claude. And so when you see these tools, when they came out this year with tool after tool after tool, it was kind of like, how are they even, who's running the show over there? Who knows which tool to come out with next? Because all the businesses were like, I need that, I need this, I need that. And it was all the right stuff. It's because they had that vision from the onset. And their intent was to build software for businesses, not just for creatives or for programmers or specific roles within a company, but to actually fill the company's wish list of things that a company would need and how they could use AI in that capacity. And we're watching this play out in real time now. That's why I'm excited to be on this episode with you right now, talking about this, because it feels like we made the right choice,
Yeah.
right?
For
when,
sure.
when we're trying to decide which should we really focus in on and start to use on a regular basis, our gut feeling was Claude's the way to go. We feel like they're going to keep coming out with stuff that's going to keep complementing the things that we do. So on that note, I want to like hand it right back over to you and ask you, um, in the capacity of an operating system, what's your vision or what's your experience with using Claude as an operating system for DIESELHAUS, for our company? And like, what's your long-term vision of how we could use it going further?
I think it just comes down to how it allows us to work with all of our other systems. Um, like you just said, I think it was 3, 4 months ago when they just, I swear for like a month straight, it felt like something new was coming out every 2 to 3 days. That was when, Cowork came out, like all these really big, important tools. Dispatch, like where you could just interact with cowork through your phone. All of these really big products just came out so quickly, and they came out at a time where people were starting to drift between different tools because they were like, I don't like, nothing feels new, nothing feels cutting edge. And like it was right at that point where they just dropped like bomb after bomb of like these huge products. um in terms of ROS, Claude and Anthropic seems to be at the cutting edge of a lot of the big shifts in AI technology in the last year or two. I mean, just starting with the MCP server concept, that that changed everything. That unified all LLMs in their ability to interact with third-party tools, and that's really kind of how you describe the OS. It's having that central point that can interact with all of your other systems. Um, and the way that Claude does it is really intuitive and easy to use. So it's not like something you need to train someone on extensively. They can go in and it's pretty easy to figure out what you're capable of. Outside of that, outside of its ability to connect with third-party tools, I think it's its ability or their shift towards agentic workflows just across the board to make Claude more capable and be able to do longer, more complex tasks that previously didn't feel possible with simple back and forth kind of chat interface. Since we've moved to agentic with the help of connectors, it just feels like a lot more capable, which is what we're looking for. We need something that's actually able to, from start to finish, complete tasks that we would normally do. In terms of the future, I don't really know where we're going to end up, but I feel comfortable in the Claude and Anthropic ecosystem because they keep pushing for the next best thing. And it really does show just in terms of where we've gone from, I could even say six months to a year ago to now. It's like unbelievable what we're able to do with AI now within our business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, um, I'll add my version of that, of how we kind of use it, as an operating system because of MCP, because of connectors. It's replaced our other operating system, into being the main hub. That's what Claude has really become for us. And so we use a variety of software that we'll probably never rebuild because it's just so good at what it does, and they are evolving at the speed of change. If you use a software that is keeping up with the times, and your business has been using it for a very long time, and the switching cost of getting away from it would be too heavy, why leave it, right? Like, keep using it. It's doing a good job and it's evolving with the times. We have a number of those. And because of connectors, because of plugins and skills, which we'll talk about in a second, we're able to continue to connect and use those other platforms, but now in a more automated fashion. I'll use just two examples here. When we interact with like Atlassian, right? So Jira or Trello, it's speeding up the way that we're able to work with those platforms purely because we're using Claude to interact with them for repetitive tasks, for mining for information, for getting answers to things, finding where we're at with projects, moving projects through the pipe, all this kind of stuff. It's just amplified our efforts. So one of the big points in tech right now are the layoffs, right? People being laid off because AI is replacing people. And that's true in a lot of ways. But for companies like ours, it's enabled us to grow without necessarily hiring fast, right? So like we're actually training ourselves to do the work of 5 people. What it used to take 5 people to do together, one person can do that through agentic workflows. It sounds crazy to say this, but it's true. And that's what Claude has really done for us. I don't want to come off as a Claude salesman. We're just really hyped on what it's done for our business and for our clients because we're actually able to output a heck of a lot more for them. And because of connectors and because of skills, it's now become our operating system. And it's only evolving and it's only getting better, and we don't have to drop a dollar on it to build it out. And it's because a lot of businesses share the same problems. They have the same problems with growth. They have the same problems interacting with other software. And Anthropic gets it. That's like that was their intent from the go. And that's why we wholeheartedly say that we're not going to leave Claude anytime soon. Um, okay, cool. So we talked about connectors and how you can use your existing software with it. Let's talk about skills and how we use skills and what it's done for us for like regular things that might take us hours, and turning that into like repeatable tasks off of a prompt. Can you just talk about skills for a minute and kind of like what it's done for your life, how it's made your life a little bit easier?
I mean, it's basically packaging what I would do into a file, which is like crazy to me. Like previously, I would, even if I wanted to use AI for a task, it was a lot of back and forth of explaining what I needed, where you need to go look, what files you need. Like that was, it was almost like I was spending as much time doing that as I would have just to complete the task. Skills have allowed me to bundle that up and just give it all to Claude and say, give it a little bit of context for each specific scenario, but I no longer need to explain a whole lot. So it like increased efficiency by so much. The fact that it makes tasks so repeatable is something that I didn't think would be valuable. But between different tasks, it's very easy, especially when we're in a rush, to like do something slightly different. And then we down the line, I'm like, oh shoot, I did it incorrectly because I just forgot. But with a skill, it knows, it has that documented exactly step by step what it needs to do, and it will do it the same way every time, which is awesome. And then in the larger scheme of things, being able to bundle those skills together into a plugin has been great, especially as we've started kind of helping other clients build out their automations. It's a lot easier to kind of help them along the way by building out a full plugin with a list of different skills that we know they need and the connectors that are needed in order to complete those skills. And it's just like this really nice, pretty wrapped up package in a bow that we can just hand to them instead of having to walk them through the intricacies of skills and plugins and connectors. I think it just comes back to Claude understanding that not everyone is going to be like, high, like super technical, but they can still go into Claude and feel comfortable using these different tools to create automations and use AI within their workflows.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the biggest thing that we hope to achieve with Claude Skool, the community, is to help everybody understand how to apply it to their company faster, how to like implement the little things that they already do and turn those into workflows immediately. And when we talk to our clients, when we talk to colleagues and stuff, we're always asking them how they're using AI. We're always asking them the things that they do currently, and we're actually able to kind of like envision entire workflows for them, basically sketch them out and show them how it'll work. And that's the intent of Claude Skool, is to help business owners and operators wrap their heads around the things that we're saying, because it's life changing for us, it's game changing. And if you can just get off the ground with it and learn how these different tools work and how they work together and how to get your team using it, you're going to be moving at light speed. And one of the things that I'm really, really hyped about right now is what's in the works right now. The dynamic workflows that you can use within Claude Code, which is it's in research mode right now. So it's not officially in production. It's not something that they're calling an end product, but essentially what it does is it'll take a really large project that might take an entire department of people to complete and assign each and every one of those, we'll call them roles or responsibilities, to like a sub-agent. And all those sub-agents work independently. They check all their own work, and then they come back together again to review the whole work, the work as a whole. And then they QA and test that. And then if you give it things to test, it'll continue to test on that. And why this is so key is as we go into the agentic era here, companies are still struggling to understand how to use AI. Imagine the ones that understand how to use a dynamic workflow, who could, if the person at the helm of a department understood how to use this, they could 10x their department and do something that might turn their 10-person team into the capacity output of like a 100-person team overnight if they just knew how to use it and got all the systems in place. Again, this is not something that's easily grasped until you can visualize it or illustrate it for your company. And these are some of the things that we do inside of Claude Skool is do just that, is we try to make them fundamental to understand and then work through sessions so that you get how to start applying this stuff to your company. Whether that's you or somebody that works at your company, everybody's welcome to come in and learn from each other. And that's really the whole intent. On that note, I just wanted to get your thoughts, Jace, on how people use Claude Skool and how the questions and responses that we use just on the day-to-day, how that's helped specific clients of ours in like a matter of like 1 month. And having worked with them for the last 4 weeks now, how would you say their improvement has been just from going from 0 to where they are now?
Yeah, I think there's two different key points here. The first is obviously like knowledge of the product. All these LLMs have really started to catch speed and start building out their entire product pool. It's overwhelming and you don't know where to start, and it can feel like, yeah, it just feels like a giant wave hitting you because you see all these different things and you're not sure how to use each one. So I think that's the first point, is like we've been able to help them start to understand what all these different products do and where they fit. The second part, which I think is just as important, is helping them understand AI within the context of the systems they already do. So it can be difficult for someone who's just getting started to visualize where AI can fit within a workflow. And that's where we've really been able to help. And it's made it a lot more exciting for them because we're discussing things that they didn't even think of at the time. Like when we first started, wasn't even on their mind. But once we kind of went through and talked through how they do things, we were able to suggest a few different ways that we could start integrating AI, and like their eyes just lit up because they could see the possibilities. So those are kind of the two main points. Is we're able to help with product knowledge. Like you don't know what you don't know. And if you're going into Claude with some kind of ambiguous task, it's going to be difficult if you're not sure what each little product does. How is co-work different than just the chat interface, and what are skills and how do projects work? Like I said, it can be overwhelming. So that's the first point. And then the second point is being able to visualize it within the context of your business is something that people who aren't familiar with AI have trouble doing. So we're able to help them through that process.
Yeah, and it's not ironic that we're doing the exact same thing that we did for ourselves when we first got into like trying to figure out how to use AI for our company. I'm going to kind of walk you through how we got to where we are and how you can do it too. Okay. When we first started using AI, it was like just getting fire hosed because every other announcement that came on the internet, wherever you were at, was like this feature. They just dropped this new model, this new thing's out, right? And it was just like trying to keep up with these things. And you would bookmark a tutorial. You were all over the place. And ultimately what we did was we treated ourselves like one of our own clients' projects, where we took a giant step back and we said, okay, what are we really trying to do here? The potential of AI is it's ginormous, and could we use it at scale within our company, right? That was question number one. Okay, question number two was, okay, where would it make most sense to try to use this new technology? If we could pick just one area of our company that would have the highest impact, what would it be? So we broke our company down by departments, and we said, okay, oh, this department will be the one. If we could unblock this bottleneck over here and amplify the output of the things that we're doing, it would be a game changer for us. And so that's what we did. We broke our company down into departments, and we just spitballed all the different ideas that we had that we could use AI for in each one of these departments. And then we chose one, right? We had to commit somewhere. So we chose one area and we built that out, and then we reshuffled because things changed. We had to look at the priorities again, and we chose another area and we built that up, and then we chose another area. And that's literally how you do it. Okay. You don't start by trying to do every single thing and learn a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You'll get nowhere fast. You'll just wind up being so stressed out. Okay. And I'm speaking from our experience on how it went for us. But when we took the time to lay all these things out, pick one area and hunker down on it, and not stop until we completed it, that's when we really started to see progress in our company using AI and Claude specifically. And um, our vision for using Claude really is to make our entire operating system Claude, and how to connect all the other things and specialty items that we use, and agents and dynamic workflows as that's starting to come out. How to intertwine all of this so that it's just evolving, right? As the state of technology evolves, we're evolving with it. You have to start somewhere, and it's hard to decide where to start. And so, if you're new to AI, or if you've been playing around with AI, if you're not sure about should I go GPT or OpenAI, should I look at Anthropic and Claude, should we look at Copilot, right? Um, this is another really big important point, which is Anthropic is agnostic to the different siloed tech stacks that are out there. I mentioned two, right? Google and Microsoft. And if everything that you use is within the Google stack, then you're probably going to use Google's tools. However, if you ever decide to leave and go to a different siloed tech stack, you're going to have to rethink and rebuild all those other things that you built within one. You're going to have to do it all over again in the other. Whereas with Claude is agnostic. It's universal. You mentioned MCP at the very beginning as an open source model context protocol, as a means for applications to interact with Claude AI. They made it universal from the go, so that no matter which silo tech stack or platform that you work with, if you ever want to change and do something different, you could do that at the flip of a light switch. So that was another reason why we went with it. It's just universal. That's their approach also. So what's your thoughts about somebody who's just getting started, who's unsure about which way they should go? Is Claude the right decision for them? Can you add any more insights or things maybe that I might have missed that would be important?
I think you make a good point with MCPs. It's not only that MCPs allow you to use any tech stack within Claude, MCP is an open protocol, which means OpenAI is using it. Like, other LLMs are now using that protocol. And I think that really speaks to what Anthropic's goal is with Claude. Like, they're not gatekeeping these individual things to, like, it really does feel like they want AI to advance as a whole. They want everything to move forward. And they are on the cutting edge of that. They have been for the last year or two with all the different things they're coming out with. And I think it just speaks to how their values play out in the real world. And I think as a business, we just feel more comfortable in that space, knowing that's their goal. Their goal isn't, get as many users as we can and, cut them off from all the other systems they're using. They're like, no, we want everything to be moving forward as a entire industry. So watching that happen has been really cool. I do really think it just comes down to our trust in Claude and Anthropic as a company. They've shown time and time again that they stand by their values. There's like countless examples. You said one earlier with Mythos. There was the whole, thing with the U.S. government. We won't get too much into that, but they stood on their values. The government wanted to do something with Claude that they weren't comfortable with, and they stood their ground, which I think is a strong value system, is what we kind of rely on when we're using Claude. So I think that is really the basis for why we feel so comfortable in Claude, and it feels like they're always on the cutting edge of whatever tooling is coming out.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's not like we don't also use other AI systems and AI platforms outside of Claude. Of course we do, right? We're keeping up with the rate of change as well. But as far as like an operating system is concerned, Claude is it for us.
Yeah.
Like it checks all the boxes. And this is what we do. We build operating systems for companies. We build software for companies, applications, you name it, business software, That's what we do. That's what we design and build. And we are here telling you that this is what we're using for our operating system. That's a bold statement. Okay. So if you're thinking about it, take a look at it. I would say drop in a Claude Skool, jump in while it's free and see what's really going on, see some of the courses that are there. Take another step and learn a little bit more, go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, Claude School is, we try to make it be the one-stop shop, not only for understanding tooling, but also understanding kind of overarching concepts, especially within the context of a business. So like being able to map out your systems, being able to see where AI can fit. Those are the parts of the Skool community that go beyond just understanding what an individual tool does. We're not just trying to get you to understand how a tool works. We want you to understand how that tool could fit within systems that you're already doing. Um, and we really are encouraging people to share their experiences, because that is really the best way for everyone to learn, is seeing how other people are using AI. And that is kind of one of the pillars of the Skool community, is sharing those small like niche things that one business might be doing, that could apply in other businesses. So that's really the benefit of the community for Claude Skool.
Yeah, and really kind of helping you break down your company into bite-sized pieces that you can attack one at a time. And being able to do that, to break a mountain down into molehills, is necessary. But it's difficult if you're trying to do this alone. Okay. But doing it inside of Claude Skool is what we do. One of the things that we're going to do inside of Claude Skool is walk you through outlining your entire business infrastructure so that you can see all the areas and the bottlenecks that you might be having. You can get it all out there. You can map it. Then you're going to basically highlight the different areas of your business where you're having bottlenecks, or where AI could give some significant uptick in your output in whatever it is that you do. This is what we would like to call like a roadmap, is creating a roadmap of where you can operationalize AI inside of your company, and then just picking one point and moving forward. This is very hard to do independently by yourself. That's what Claude Skool is for. That's what the community is for. And that's what we're going to do in the future, is have a session where we can do this, and you'll walk away with just that. If you're thinking about which AI platform to choose, if you're curious about Claude, come in Claude Skool, check out our cohort. Jace, can you give just like an example or a description of what the cohort is really about and why it's a good starting point for any business?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have trouble understanding how to go step by step in, operationalizing AI. And the cohort is a means to not only kind of hold your hand through that, but also do it in a group. So seeing how other people are approaching it, I think, is super valuable. And that is what the cohort brings, is kind of working through this process of not only understanding AI, but understanding your business and your systems and how the two can interact. That's the goal of the cohort, is to kind of get you up to speed in a group setting where people can learn from each other, and we're there to kind of hold your hand and help you understand it individually.
What's the big takeaway from the cohort? And then from that point, what's really the next step?
Yeah, we use the cohort as a kind of jumping off point. So by the end of the cohort, you will have a really good understanding of your systems and your workflows and where AI can fit within those workflows. And then after that, it's really just going through and deciding, which we also help you prioritize, but kind of going down that to-do list of things you want to start integrating AI with, and just checking them off one by one. And then the rest of the courses and the community within Claude Skool will help you do that by giving you the knowledge you need.
Yeah, and doing this as a group is infinitely more impactful as you're doing it, because like you could be trying to do this on your own or just with another team member at your company, and it's okay. But when you do it in a group setting where you're working with other people in other businesses, other industries, maybe, you're getting a whole different perspective on how other people are viewing the process, and you're seeing it through different lenses. And then after the initial cohort, we have a builders cohort. This is where now people have these items on their list. They've got the roadmap of things that they want to build, and they pick one out and they start working on it. And what we do is, as you're working on operationalizing AI in your business, meaning as you start using Claude for your company, you're going to have questions. And what we do is we go through and we answer these questions in video format. We'll pick questions out that are timely or that are universal to all businesses or that are just really great questions. And we'll answer that question and talk through it. It's just a very quick way for you to get feedback. So that's another huge thing that helped us early on was when we were discussing AI and how to use AI outside of our company. When we were talking to other companies like ours in other markets, other industries, learning what they were doing helped us to get there a whole lot quicker, and helping us understand how we could use it within our company. It was such a huge unlock for us by doing it with other people in other industries and other companies. So highly recommend it if you can swing by, get a chance. It's free. Join Claude Skool. And yeah, get going. Don't waste any time. The longer you wait, you're going to wish you got started a lot sooner. And if you're thinking about it, do the right thing. Go jump into Claude Skool and bring a friend with you and start learning ASAP because it's only speeding up.